Hello and welcome to Quick Bites, where we talk about firefighter nutrition in 10 minutes or less. And today we are talking about hydration. My name is Megan Loutz, and I'm a registered dietitian that specializes in first responders. Now, generally, this is what we are aiming for from a hydration standpoint. I usually go based off of the Institute of Medicine's guidelines, which is 92 ounces of fluid per day for women and 125 ounces per day for men. Now, of course, this isn't just water. A lot of people think they just need to down this much water. That's a lot of freaking water, right? Like that's somewhere between 6 to 8 16-ounce water bottles in a day. And that can seem overwhelming. But the reality is that all fluids actually count. So while we want to do water most of the time, coffee, tea, and juice actually count so long as the caffeine is under 300 milligrams. It will not cause dehydration because, again, you're replacing the fluid lost in that first hour with, the fluid in the beverage, right? And you can also count fluid from food. So fruits and veggies typically are high in water, things like watermelon, cantaloupe, cucumbers, carrots, strawberries. Those things are high in water and usually contribute about 1 to 2 cups of fluid a day if you're getting that standard 2 to 4 servings of fruits and veggies a day. Now, the challenge here is that firefighters tend to be on the dehydrated side, right? And one study out of Orange County found that 9 out of 10 firefighters showed up mild to moderately dehydrated to a planned drill, right? So that's a concern. Plus, they lost a significant amount more weight from fluid per bottle per 15 minutes of work relative to the person who showed up hydrated or the people who show up hydrated. So you end up losing faster. You get more dehydrated faster if you already show up mild to moderately dehydrated. And it's happening in a very short, like 3 pounds in 15 minutes. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of sweat, right? So if we keep you hydrated, we will protect against further dehydration. And that also will make sure that you don't feel like garbage later in your shift, right? Or garbage later in your day when you do go home to your family after adjuncting at the academy, right? And the concern also is that dehydration can lead to significant injuries, whether it's a training or whether it's an actual fun fire, right? You get to do cool stuff. We see reductions in attention and focus, fine motor skills, strength and power starts to suck. Your thermoregulation gets worse. It's harder to regulate your body temperature. This is particularly concerning for that 35 to 50 age group where cardiovascular, sudden cardiac death is a big concern. Staying hydrated can help prevent that. Now, keep in mind, this is typically once we hit 2% of body weight lost, right? So if you're a 200-pound firefighter and you've lost 4 pounds of sweat, you're pretty high risk here. We have done weigh in and weigh out protocols at Fairfax with our recruits, and we've seen 5 to 7 pounds of weight lost over the course of a single day during some of our larger burns. So one trick is if you really don't know how much you're losing and you don't think you're doing a very good job, you can weigh in prior to a burn, ideally with as little clothes as possible, and weigh out after a burn with as little clothes as possible to see what the difference is. If you're losing weight, that's a concern because most people will gain at least 3 to 5 pounds throughout the day from water, food, and those kinds of things. Now, again, hydration is more than just improving performance. It's also preventing injury and cardiovascular strain. And you won't feel like garbage later. To me, that's the most motivating factor because the only thing I've got as a civilian is like yard work on the 4th of July when the humidity is like a bazillion and it's hot as heck. You don't want to feel like crap when you're finally done doing the hard work, right? Now, why do we feel like crap? And is water going to be the only thing that can replace it? No, because we see 40 ounces of sweat loss in 30 minutes of fireground activity, right? You've got the high exertion, the extreme heat. Your gear that protects you from the heat will prevent you from sweat evaporation or your skin from evaporating sweat. So then your body's actually losing more and more and more and more sweat because it's having trouble maintaining that body temperature, right? So there's a significant loss of sweat. And the thing is with sweat is it's not just fluid that you're losing. It's also sodium. It's also chloride, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. And if you do not replace with sodium, If you do not replace these electrolytes, you could end up overhydrating and causing a condition called hyponatremia, or you could just feel like crap later. So here's the thing. Sodium actually helps pull fluid across the cell membrane from your intestines into the cell. It helps with rehydration. But the other thing that a lot of firefighters don't realize is that sugar also helps that process. So what I actually recommend is, sports drink will work, and that's what usually canteens or rehab units will bring to y'all if it's a big alarm, right? But oral rehydration solutions like Drip Drop, Liquid IV, or Pedialyte Sport are a little bit more ideal because of their formulation. ORS products were developed for the cholera epidemic where they didn't have access to IV fluid, so they tried to make a product that was more portable and could be taken by mouth. And these products have double the sodium and half the sugar of sports drink. And they are designed to rehydrate you faster. But the problem is a lot of my first responders are trying to do sugar-free versions of these products, whether it's Drip Drop or Liquid IV, no sugar, or they're trying to do Element, LMNT, or other no sugar rehydration products. And these sugar-free hydration products are not as effective as the ones that have a little bit of sugar. Why? Because yes, sodium pulls water across the cell, but sugar, a little bit of sugar, about 12 to 15 grams, will pull sodium across the cell faster, allowing you to get rehydrated 2 to 3 times as fast as sugar-free products. So I do discourage sugar-free products. It will help rehydrate you faster if you have a little bit of sugar available. Keep in mind, I'm not recommending you have a ton of sugar and ton of sodium watching football in the day room with your friends, if you have a shift on Sunday, right? I'm recommending this in high intensity scenarios where you're losing a lot of fuel, you're burning through your carbohydrate stores, plus you're losing a lot of fluid. That sodium and sugar will help with your energy levels, and it will help rehydrate you in these high intensity situations. Not so great though for long-term health, just day to day, right? Comes down to context. Now, how should you use these products? So Liquid IV, Drip Drop, Pedialyte Sport. Personally, I think Drip Drop is a better product. It tastes better. It mixes in water better, but it's a little bit more expensive, and Liquid IV works pretty well, and it's available at Costco, right? So we use the color of your pee to determine how much Drip Drop or Liquid IV you would do prior to a planned training or drill. So if your pee is clear, we're actually trying to just replace sodium, right? Because you're probably already overly hydrated. So salty peanuts, salty trail mix, pretzels with a limited amount of water will get you where you need to be. If you have a light yellow colored pee, we would go with probably 1 Drip Drop in a 16-ounce container. So usually one of the thicker sticks of Drip Drop Liquid IV will be for a 16-ounce water bottle. I see a lot of people diluting this and putting it into their larger 32-ounce, 42-ounce water bottles, right? That actually will reduce the effectiveness of the product because you're stretching it out. Again, you want that sodium and that sugar in the right dosage with the right amount of water to increase the speed. So keep it at 1 to 1 stick per 16-ounce water bottle. If your pee is a dark yellow, a dark orange, or in very small quantities, you probably need to do multiple. We usually do 1 ORS product, and then in 30 minutes, we do another one. If it's really dark yellow, dark orange, we try to keep you out of PT, out of training if it's a recruit. And then we do 1 Drip Drop, then 30 minutes later, another Drip Drop, and then 30 minutes later, another Drip Drop. It's a lot, but it will get you there without that IV fluid. This is something that we can print off and put on the back of your academy locker, urinals and stalls. There is a free poster on my website, RescueRD.com, that has these colors, and it will give you the protocol right where the action is happening, right? So RescueRD.com. All right, so summary, hydration will help improve your energy levels and make sure that you stay not feeling like crap throughout your shift and later in the day. Know that dehydration can happen really fast on the fire ground, so you really need to stay consistent on shift. If you're not getting 40 to 50 ounces by 1 or 2 o'clock, then you're probably not going to feel so great later in the shift. Aim to get that amount of fluid down prior. Again, coffee, tea, juices all count towards that. And know that sodium and a little bit of sugar are going to help with that rehydration process. Sugar-free products, sugar-free sports drinks, in the case of high-intensity alarms, are not as effective as products that have a little bit of sugar. If you have any questions, my name is Megan. My email is megan@rescuerd.com. Follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok @rescue.rd.